In 1992, a strange event unfolded in the small town of Hollow Creek, Kentucky. One quiet summer evening, every single resident of the town, nearly 400 people, vanished without a trace. Neighbors, families, and even pets disappeared, leaving behind nothing but their homes, cars, and belongings. The only peculiar clue was the eerie silence that blanketed the town. The FBI launched an extensive investigation, but no bodies, signs of struggle, or clues were found. It was as if the entire town had been erased from existence. Years later, investigative journalist Henry Drake became obsessed with the Hollow Creek mystery. After an in-depth review of the police reports, Henry uncovered something strange. All the phone lines in Hollow Creek went dead at exactly 7:13 p.m. on the night of the disappearance. But there was one final outgoing call from the house of Mary Adams, a 65-year-old widow. No one had paid attention to it before, but the call lasted for 3 minutes and was disconnected without any conversation. Curiosity piqued, Henry decided to visit the abandoned town to conduct his own investigation. Upon arriving, he found the town almost frozen in time. Dust-covered houses with plates still set on tables, radios tuned to static, and cars parked as if people had left in a hurry. But as Henry delved deeper, he began experiencing strange things. Whispers on the wind, lights flickering in the empty houses, and shadows darting across his peripheral vision. One night, while reviewing the documents he brought, his phone rang, an unknown number. When he answered, it was a woman's voice, weak and distant. "Help us. We're still here." Henry's investigation took a terrifying turn when he discovered a hidden bunker under the old town church. There, he found records dating back centuries, revealing that Hollow Creek wasn't the first town to disappear. Every 100 years, a town would vanish from history, and the residents would become part of the silence. The terrifying conclusion came when Henry stumbled upon a series of old recordings made by the town's former priest, warning future generations that Hollow Creek was cursed. He tried to leave the town that night, but no matter how far he drove, the road always led him back. In the final moments, Henry's desperate voice was captured in an audio recording. "The silence. It's coming for me, too." Days later, Henry's car was found abandoned at the town's entrance, with his belongings scattered inside. He was never seen again. In 1898, the SS Valkyrie, a luxury passenger ship, vanished during a violent storm while en route to New York from London. The ship was carrying over 300 passengers, including wealthy elites and well-known figures of the time. For decades, no trace of the Valkyrie was ever found, until the 1970s, when deep-sea explorers discovered the wreck at the bottom of Blackwater Bay, a remote and largely unexplored region off the coast of Maine. However, the ship's location raised questions. How had the Valkyrie ended up so far off course? In 2003, marine archaeologist Dr. Evelyn Shaw led an expedition to investigate the wreck. Her team was the first to dive down to the site, hoping to uncover artifacts and answers. As they explored the eerie remains of the once grand ship, they encountered something chilling. The bodies of the passengers were still there, perfectly preserved in the cold waters, sitting in their dining chairs and lying in their beds. It was as though the passengers had been frozen in time. Disturbingly, many of the corpses showed signs of fear. Some had expressions of terror etched on their faces, while others were found hiding in closets or barricading doors. Stranger still, the ship's logbook was recovered, and its final entries described passengers becoming increasingly paranoid, seeing shadowy figures below deck and hearing voices calling them into the sea. The captain's last entry was a cryptic message. "We are not alone. Something is aboard." As Dr. Shaw's team delved further into the wreck, they began experiencing bizarre occurrences. Equipment malfunctioned, unexplained sounds echoed through the water, and some divers reported hearing whispers through their communication devices. One by one, members of the crew started disappearing during dives, never to be seen again. Dr. Shaw, desperate to solve the mystery, uncovered a hidden section of the ship where an ancient artifact had been stored in the cargo hold. An artifact that matched descriptions of a cursed relic believed to summon dark forces. In the end, Dr. Shaw found herself alone in the underwater darkness, her team lost to the abyss. As her oxygen dwindled, she discovered the truth behind the Valkyrie's disappearance. The ship had been drawn into something far more sinister than a storm. The expedition was eventually called off, and the wreck was declared off-limits by the authorities. But Dr. Shaw's notes and recordings surfaced years later. Her final transmission ended with a haunting message. The curse, it's still down there, waiting. Here are the suggested visuals and prompt ideas for the 2 stories, along with the estimated duration for each image clip. This setup will keep the viewers engaged and immersed in the eerie atmosphere of the stories.